Hussein Abou Bakr. I graduated back in 2004 from AUC. I have two startups or two companies, Platform Agribusiness, which is an Endeavor member, and Muzera, which is a tech startup, also a member of the Endeavor family. Both companies focus mainly on the agricultural value chain. Why am I in this place? I'm a third generation in a family that back in the 1950s focused on growing plants like aromatic plants, extracting the oils and exporting it to France to perfumery companies and a lot of ingredients importers. So I grew up in our family seeing lands, I saw factories, dealt with workers and met international customers. So I had an option when I graduated from AUC, whether either to go to the US and work in investment banking or in FMCG, or stay and learn in our family business. I was very lucky because I kept watching my dad dealing with people, and I understood the industry, which is a very niche industry, which is focused around value addition in agriculture. Agriculture as is like producing and selling fresh produce. But when we're talking about value addition, we're producing industrial products out of the agriculture raw material, like frozen vegetables, like cosmetics, like fragrances. So that's my background, which led me to creating my two companies. After spending some time in our family business and learning more about agriculture and how products are grown and how to create value and how to trade it, the business model developed on a time span of 15 years. After staying with my family, doing every job, whether it's warehousing, production, agriculture, or sales. The business model really matured after 15 years, and I knew exactly what I want to do. I wanted to link small farmers in Egypt specifically to international markets like the US, Canada, and Japan, because I saw the niche and I saw the need for products that only flourish in such a Mediterranean atmosphere or weather, as well as needing high intensive labor that's abundant in Egypt. So this is a huge opportunity for small scale holder farmers to create more income and produce much higher value crops exported to the developed world. And that's the core of the business model of Platform Agribusiness, which is a factory that exports processed food to the US and Canada, as well as Muzera, which is a tech platform that links farmers to exporters and provides fintech solutions and financing, as well as other tech services. When I started my first company, Platform, back in 2016, I was learning how to create, manage, and sustain a company. A company is not just an idea. It's operations, it's people, it's cash flow management, it's creating functional departments like HR, technology, and IT, as well as other functional supportive functions. So at the beginning, I was testing and trying. I had a lot of failures. I tried to hire high calibers to support me, and it was a learning process. My priorities changed in a way that I needed to focus in order to make this happen. So I focused on exporting. I focused on products that gives good yield in Egypt and farmers are happy with, that are succeeded in Egyptian soils, and financing those crops with partnering banks so that I create a financial model that's viable for this industry. So I became very focused on certain markets and certain products and a certain group of farmers until the project kicked off. I needed also to cut my costs. Like I switched from renting a factory to owning a factory. I switched from having multiple locations to having a single location to reduce trucking and logistics costs. And this helped me a lot these days because of the extremely high costs in logistics and in overheads, I'm consolidating everything in one place. So this is how my priorities changed throughout the years. Being an entrepreneur, you need to be mentally and emotionally ready to face the unknown. So it's like you are swimming, you shift from swimming in a pool to swimming in open sea. So you do not know what's gonna happen throughout your journey. So failure is part of the journey, and it's normal, very normal. The number of times I failed in what I planned was tremendous, but at the end it made me know بالعربي من أين تؤكل الكتف, from where to start and where to hit hard to reach my goal. So one of my first failures was investing in machines and in high quality assets, but at the same time I did not leave enough money for cash flow management to buy the raw materials, to pay salaries, and to maintain inventory. So I went out of cash. So I had to go to the banks, I had to have indebtedness with high interest rate that was high leverage at the time. So that's one of my, I considered one of my mistakes. Also, I hired a lot of high-cost employees in senior positions, and I did not invest in middle management. So I drained the cash situation of the company, and I created an unfair salary scale and a negative culture inside my company. So I learned from my mistakes, and I started to focus more on what's more important for the company and me, which are hiring the right calibers in the middle management specifically, and who are on the ground, and giving them enough incentives to benefit the company and make them feel like partners, and give them ESOP option or minority share options in the company. This is one of my many failures throughout the journey. The first time I felt really successful and that I made it was very close. It was actually almost 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now we're in the second week of January 2023. I've been in this business for at least 19 to 20 years. I always had a bet between me and myself and my close ones that the future of this country is in exporting value-added agricultural crops to developed countries, and there will be a time where this will really give good yields and will become one of the highest growth industries in this country. In the last 19 years, I was discovering where and how I went to do what I wanted to do, and I had a lot of failures, as I told you, and I created 2 companies in the journey, and I created a farm, and I had partnerships with many entities and people. But now with the situation in Egypt, where there is a big scarcity in foreign currency, and there is no much options for local production and employing large number of people, the only thing that really solves the triangular issue, which is foreign currency, employment, and social inclusion and financial inclusion, as well as food security, is value addition in agriculture for exporting and substitution of imports. So when I was sitting alone 2 weeks ago, I felt, am I in the right place at the right time? I felt, yes, I'm in the right place at the right time. I feel very lucky and blessed to be where I am today. My journey with Endeavor started back in 2017, 1 year after creating Plantform. My LSP was in the Smart Village, and my ISP was in Miami. It was a really special and unique experience where for the first time in my life, I was introduced to the international entrepreneurship ecosystem. It's like being part of a cult, being part of a wider thing. I was always in the trade business. I always dealt with Americans, Europeans, and Asians, but it was the first time to meet fellow entrepreneurs who are competing and cooperating in the same ecosystem and speaking the same language. So since then, I felt being part of a bigger thing, and I had international support, whether with connections, mentoring, or trading. I was introduced to partners in Turkey, in Peru, in Brazil, whether in agtech, agricultural technology, or in food trading. The peak of my benefit from Endeavor, when I met my co-founder Tamer Al-Rakhi, who was one of my mentors in Endeavor, and also met other colleagues, where we brainstormed the idea of Muzara, which is our second agri-fintech company, also born inside Endeavor, where we decided to start the company back in 2020. So the effect of Endeavor on my career and on my life is big. I believe without Endeavor, I wouldn't have been where I am today, and I'm really thankful to be among those esteemed group of international entrepreneurs. What I enjoyed most about my journey in the last 5 years with Endeavor was exposure to the wide array of the staff in Endeavor, whether in Egypt or in Jordan or Saudi or in the US, as well as fellow entrepreneurs in the rest of the world. So it's like a huge pool of ideas being generated, events that we go out together, dinners, outings. So you'll never feel alone. Like in Liverpool, the football game, they say, you will never walk alone. In Endeavor, you will never walk alone. سؤال صعب أوي. Success, I think, for me, is to do whatever you dreamt of doing and feel that you're satisfied. It's not monetary success, it's not status, it's not anything. It's reaching this feeling, deep feeling inside you, that you are satisfied with what you did, and you feel that you wanted to do what you always dreamt to do, regardless of the result, because the result is not in your hands. So it's about the journey itself. It's by enjoying the journey, feeling that you really reached your destination, and when you look back, you feel satisfied. It's very intrinsic, it's very subjective, but at the same time, it's very real when it's something you feel inside you. Because maybe you're the richest man in the world and you're not satisfied. Maybe you have all the power in the world and you don't feel successful. So it's a feeling. That's for me what success is. Knowing what I know now, what would I have done differently? To be extremely honest, I wouldn't have taken this path, because I was, throughout this journey in the last 20 years, there was hardships, and I lost a lot of partners, acquaintances, and friends, and I had to travel to different places and leave the places I like to spend time in. Yes, I consider myself today successful, I'm satisfied, but knowing exactly everything for me would have defied the purpose. I would have chosen a different route to try new things. So it was a tough ride. It was ups and downs. I believe it was the right thing to do, to venture into this direction of industry and creating these companies and being among this esteemed group of entrepreneurs and businessmen. But it was a tough journey, and my advice to any person who's starting his career is to be patient and learn something and be the best at it, or one of the best. Then start turning this into a business. So don't jump and create a business from day one. Just learn something and be unique at it, and then see how you can monetize this capability and grow steadily but surely. There is no rush. You have all the time in the world.